I don't know what space exploration will uncover, but I don't think it'll be exploration just for the sake of exploration. I think it'll be more the fact that it allows us to see things that maybe we should have seen a long time ago.
What do you think those things were, and do you think we have seen them yet?
Well, you know, I think one thing that I was interested to learn and heard a few astronauts say was that, you know, that we went to the moon. We went to explore the moon, but what we ended up discovering was the Earth. And that in that process, it was the first time that the Earth really, that the world got to look at itself.
Neil, if it does turn out, you'll go down in history. What kind of thoughts do you have about that when the thought hits you? Gosh, suppose that flight successful?
We're planning on that flight being successful.
In the book, I think it's Janet that says that his mother felt that Neil was predestined to go on this mission. What do you make of that?
It's, well, one funny thing is, Ryan and I were just talking earlier about, you know, in large part of what we wanted to do with this movie was show ways in which it wasn't predestined. You know, maybe not for Neil himself, but, you know, just for the world as a whole, this idea of landing on the moon, I think history tends to kind of give us this impression that it was, you know, that, well, of course we walked on the moon because that's what humans do, you know, and, but to actually kind of rewind to the early 60s and see how outlandish the idea was and how unlikely and dangerous and just how much even controversy came with it, I think shows the extent to which it couldn't have been predestined in that sense.
Jan, the ship is stable. They're gonna be all right.
He's okay, Jan.
I need you to go home.
Fine. Turn the box back on.
I'll see what I can do.
Turn the box back on, now.
Oh, there's security protocol.
Well, I don't give a damn. I've got a dozen cameras on my front lawn, Deke. Do you want me telling them what's going on?
Jan, you have to trust us. We've got this under control.
No, you don't. All these protocols and procedures to make it seem like you have it under control. But you're a bunch of boys making models out of balsa wood. You don't have anything under control.
Ryan and I, we weren't lucky enough to meet Neil because he passed before we started working on the movie, but we got to spend a lot of time with Janet. And I think the impression we got is someone who was, on the one hand, gung-ho about space travel and completely in support of that pursuit and the importance of that pursuit, but was also, somewhat like Neil, they shared this, a very practical person who was able to call bullshit when she saw it and who needed to call bullshit when she saw it because she, in some ways, had an even harder job than Neil did. She had to actually be that bridge between space. Neil got to sort of be the satellite orbiting the Earth in some sense, but Janet is the one who had to kind of yoke that satellite to Earth.
Neil!
We talked a lot about death. We had very morbid conversations. I mean, I liked to think of the moon as very much, you know, sort of, I mean, when we were shooting it and thinking about how to shoot it, we talked a lot about the sort of, you know, imagery throughout history, imagining the land of the dead, whatever you might call it, Hades, the underworld. I looked at a lot of sort of, you know, paintings depicting the myth of Orpheus going to Hades to fetch Eurydice, and just this idea of someone, it's such a magnitude of distance, the moon from the Earth, you know, so this idea of mortals going beyond where mortals are supposed to go.
Would you go? Would you be a space tourist and go?
No.
Why?
I think I'm busy that day. I think, yeah. Would you go, Damien?
Probably not. I mean, I would love to, but I'd have to be guaranteed that I could come back.